Leetcode practice time. In this video there are two goals. The first goal is to see how to solve this problem. So we are going to see how to solve this problem, and then we are going to do some coding work. And the second goal is to see how we should behave in a real interview. So let's get started. So remember, in a real interview, always the first step is to try to understand the problem. If there is anything unclear, please bring up the question, and at the same time think about some edge cases. So let's take a look at the question. Number of provinces. So there are n cities, some of them are connected, while some are not. So if city A is connected directly with city B, and city B is connected directly with city C, then city A is connected indirectly with city C. Okay, A is okay. So as long as there is a pass within two cities, so they are connected. So a province is a group of indirect or directly connected cities and no other cities outside of the group. So you're given environment matrix is connected, where is connecting ij is equal to 1 if I city and j city are directly connected. Okay, so if it is otherwise, it is 0. So return the number of provinces. Alright, so it's something like we find the connected components within the whole graph, the number of the connected components within the whole graph. And the graph is represented by a 2D matrix. So let's see example 1, we are going to return 2, example 2, we are going to return 3. That makes sense. So let's see some constraints. So n is between 1 to 200, which means the given matrix is never going to be empty, and all the elements are either 1 or 0. Okay, so it's connected I is equal to 1 because the same city is connected. Alright, so and the matrix is like a mirror, so diagonal mirrored. So I think in general it looks fine. We don't see any edge cases. So let's go to the next step, which is about finding a solution. So how to solve this problem? I would say regarding this problem, we could do it in either DFS or BFS. So let's just go with the DFS way. So for DFS, we are just going to keep an array or a set. Let's say it is a set. The set contains the ID of the visited cities, so that we don't visit it another time if we have already visited before. And for each city, for each unvisited DFS, for each unvisited city, we call DFS to find all the connected cities and mark all of them as visited. So that overall the runtime is going to be n squared, and essentially n squared is the size of the matrix. So having said that, let's go and do some coding work. So for coding, we care about the correctness of the code, readability of the code, and also the speed, so don't be too slow. So let's get started. First of all, we have a set. Let's call it so it would be integer. Let's call it visited as new hash set. So it goes through everything. Int I is equal to 0, I is smaller than is connected dot length plus I. So if visited dot contains I, then we are just going to continue. Otherwise, we are going to call DFS on top of I, and we pass in the whole connected matrix. and we are going to have visited dot add actually we can just add the I into visited in the DFS function. So, and also we need to count the number of the provinces. So let's say num provinces as equal to 0. So after we call the DFS, we should be able to find province. So we are just going to plus for provinces. And finally we return num provinces, and call private void DFS top of this is the city, and it is connected, and also we have the is visited. Alright, so we are first of all we are going to have visited dot add okay, so for the recursive function we need to define the exit. So if visited dot contains city, then we are just going to return. Otherwise we will have visited dot add a city. Then we go through everything that is connected with the city. So I would say int j, let's say int neighbor in is connected city, and then we call DFS on top of the so if the neighbor, actually we should use index based. So int neighbor is equal to 0, neighbor is smaller than is connected dot length and the plus neighbor. So if the neighbor is connected, so actually it may not be a neighbor, so let's call it city, let's call it city, let's call it temp city or either city. Either city smaller length plus either city. So if from neighbor to from the city to another city, or let's call it another city, so another city is connected of city and another city is equal to 0, then we just need to continue because it's not connected. Otherwise we will call another city is connected and visited, and we need to actually give it a better name. Let's call it city here, city, city, and this is also city. Sure. So we are pretty much done about this piece of code. Let's do some sanity check. So after you're done with coding, it's time for you to do some testing. So usually go through simple test case and do some sanity check on this piece of code about the logic. And then at the same time you will need to communicate with your interviewer explaining how this piece of code is gonna work with a simple example. So let's use example 1. So we have find city So first of all, we initialize a visited as empty set, num-province as 0. So we start from we go through each city. So if it's already visited, then we just continue. Otherwise, if it is not visited, we call DFS. So we first call DFS on 1, city 1. We see that we call DFS and the visited contains city, then we return is not contained. So we are going to add 1 into visited. And then we are going to go through all of its neighbors. So if all of the potential neighbors, so city 1 and city 1 are connected, so we are going to call the 1 again on top of it, and the 2, but it is going to just return because visited already contain it, and we are going to call DFS on 2 because this is 1, which means 1, 2 are connected. So we are going to add 2 into visited, and then when we call 2, and we will go through 1, 2. In that case, everything is already visited, so we don't really need to worry about that. So after we visited, we traverse through all the components in the DFS function, then we plus num provinces. So currently num provinces is equal to 1, and then when it comes to city 3, then we find that only itself is connected. So we are going, after that we are going to plus the num province. So finally we return 2 for this example. So I think overall it should work. Let's give it a shot. So visited, okay, so this is a typo here. Alright, so it's accepted. Let's do some mention. Alright, so it seems like everything works well, and that's it for this coding question. So if you have any question about the puzzle or about the solution, feel free to leave some comments below. If you like this video, please help subscribe to this channel. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.